What's up, loved ones? My name is Jonte Grace, and today I'm going to be talking about Measure 114. That is Oregon's new measure that has just passed by the slimmest of margins. 50% of voters passed this measure, and this is one of the strictest gun control measures that our state has ever passed. I'm going to be talking about what Measure 114 is, what the current status of Measure 114 is, and also what you need to be doing as a current gun owner or a gun supporter while Measure 114 is being worked out. Um, Before I get started, please like and subscribe. I'm just getting started, but your support means a lot to me, and all I ask is a like or a subscribe, right? So, a little bit about me. I am a brand new first time gun owner. I purchased a Taurus G3 9mm, and as you can see, it is unloaded. Um, but I purchased this weapon 6 months ago, um, legally, of course, in the state of Oregon. But we'll talk about why I am not allowed to carry this weapon right now due to Measure 114. Measure 114 has three main components to it. The first thing is it establishes a permit to purchase scheme. And what that means is now you have to buy a permit in order to go buy your gun. In order to buy that permit, you have to do certain things, and that includes having a photo ID, getting fingerprinted, taking a gun safety training course that includes live fire and is sanctioned by the Oregon State Police, and then paying a fee to apply for that permit. So you have to do all of those things in order to get the permit to then buy the gun. You have to get fingerprinted, have a photo ID, and take a gun safety training course that is approved by the Oregon State Police. And then you have to pay the permit fee in order to then go and get your permit. Also, that permit is going to put you in a database that is maintained by your local police agency, which means that your police agency will have a database of everyone who has a gun. So you don't think that when you get pulled over, that they may not have access to that information to be able to tell who is potentially carrying or who potentially has a weapon on them. That just seems very big brotherish, if you ask me. But let's move on. The other thing that Measure 114 does is it restricts magazine capacities to no more than 10 rounds. And that's why it makes this weapon that I purchased at a sporting goods store in Oregon illegal. Because when I purchased this weapon came with a 15 round magazine and a 17 round magazine, both of which are now, according to this, unlawful. I won't say illegal, I'll say unlawful. Um, so you can see why this creates a major issue for gun owners as well as judicial and police agencies across the state. The reason being is because these agencies, they're not even equipped to implement the measures that Measure 114 calls for. And what I mean by that is when Measure 114 passed, the Attorney General of Oregon wanted to fast track the implementation of the law. They wanted to put the law into effect immediately. But what happened was a lot of uh, police agencies, a lot of sheriff's agencies, they came out and said, look, we don't even have the infrastructure. We don't have the capacity to begin enforcing a magazine restriction and a permitting system for the entire state, right? So God bless a couple of sheriff's office that came out. You can always rely on sheriffs to be the mavericks. A couple of sheriffs came out and said, "Look, we will not be enforcing this magazine restriction. If we stop a person and we see that they are lawfully owning a weapon, and we see that their magazine has more than 10 rounds. We are not going to be punishing them. We will not be taking them to jail. We will not be enforcing this act." That's great, but that was only a handful of sheriffs. They just came out and said they literally will not be enforcing this law, right? But what else happened is, and I'm going to show you here, there have been some lawsuits that have happened. So as you can see here, this is Ballotpedia, and I was just looking at what Measure 114 is. Just to recap, it requires a permit issued by local law enforcement to buy a firearm, right? That law enforcement agency that has been determined to be the OSP, the Oregon State Police. So it's our state police agency. I think they are our highest governing police agency. So OSP is going to be the ones maintaining this. Two, requires a photo ID, fingerprints, safety training. That safety training, that they put that in there, but it's really so much more than safety training. It is, you have to take a gun safety course, which I don't mind. I am all for training. I've taken training myself, and I do believe that you need to take as much training as you need. But I don't believe that it should be a mandatory requirement in order to purchase a weapon. That's where I disagree with this. I believe everybody should take a gun safety course, but take it in your own time, take it in your own leisure. Don't make it a requirement in order to purchase a weapon. Okay. You also have to take a criminal background check, which is great. We already had that in, that was already part of the Oregon law and federal law. Everywhere in America that you buy a gun, you have to get a federal background check. That is nothing new. But adding that into this in order to just apply for a permit to be able to buy a gun is just overkill. And then on top of all of this, you still may be denied by the police department. And we all know Oregon's history with racism. How much do you think that will possibly factor into certain groups of people getting approved and certain groups of people being denied for a permit to buy a gun? I'll just let you sit with that one, and I won't say any more about that. But let's move on to what the current status is of Measure 114. It looks like a judge has ruled that the new firearms background check requirements cannot go into effect. Thank God for that judge. Thank you, judge. The problem is this block is temporary. It's only a block that halts the implementation of this measure while these lawsuits get played out in court. So there have been several nonprofit agencies, several organizations that have filed lawsuits saying that Measure 114 is unconstitutional, which I agree with. Um, and so these judges have issued a block or ban on the implementation of this law until those lawsuits get worked out in court. Unfortunately, you can't file a lawsuit to block the whole thing. You have to attach certain measures. So, what I mean by that is one organization filed a lawsuit to block the magazine restriction, the capacity restrictions. Another organization filed a lawsuit to block the permit to purchase scheme. I'm going to keep calling it a scheme because that's really all it is. It's a money making scheme. It's another bureaucratic process to just generate some funds. It's like adding a tollway or a toll booth on your freeway. All it does is just generate some more paperwork and some more money for the state. That's all it does. So, looks like the case is before the Harney County Circuit Court, and yes, it looks like the judge in Harney County has basically issued the ban or the block, the temporary block, but that is not going to be, that's not permanent. That is not going to be forever. It looks like the judge ruled on Tuesday that the state cannot implement the additional background check requirement for now. So while they are arguing on that, the judge has to issue, I think the blocks only are good for 7 to 10 days. So basically, every week, the judge has to issue a new block on the measure. It has to basically, they basically have to keep filing for more time, right? So this thing is very fluid. This process is very dynamic and it's changing every single day. And so now we'll move on to what you should do as a citizen, a gun owner, or someone who just is interested in this process. I think the first thing you should do is you should pay attention to what's going on with this. You can look on your local news. This is even making national news. So you can also just pay attention whenever you see a story about gun rights, gun control. Just pay attention and make sure that you are up to date on what's going on. The second thing you can do is that if you are a gun owner or a gun advocate, is you need to go and buy up all of the different supplies that you're going to need. And I'm not saying that you're preparing for actual combat, but I'm saying that you should be buying up these products because they might very shortly become obsolete or just become unsellable, and then they won't be available in the state of Oregon. You'll have to either go to a different state, but the most closest neighboring state that we have, which is Washington, they also have a 10-round capacity ban on their magazines as well. So you can't go to Washington and buy high capacity magazines. So California also has that as well. So you're going to have to go east, whether that be Idaho, whether that be, Nevada, any of those other places, right? So you need to purchase and make sure that you have all of the supplies, all of the equipment that you need for your firearm. I would also encourage you to sign up for a gun safety course because it is important to just have gun safety and have the skills to protect yourself and to be able to protect your property, right? So I say all of that to say this law is stupidly unjust, unconstitutional. It was hastily written and it was emotionally applied in response to a highly sensitive, violent crimes that were happening in our national news cycle. And when you are determining permanent federal and state law, you should never make your decisions based on emotion. So, with that being said, I will be making more follow up videos as we find out what's going on and as this case develops. But I just wanted to make a video to let you know what's going on and where things are at this moment. So, once again, my name is Jonte Grace. Peace out, y'all. Please like, subscribe, and follow me. All right, y'all. Peace out.